The boy stood trembling at the edge of a marble office floor, holding a small, worn envelope in his hands. His clothes were dusty, his shoes too big, and his eyes were full of fear and hope at the same time. When he finally spoke, his voice barely rose above a whisper. "I just came to return this envelope," he said. The rich man behind the giant desk didn't even look at him. When he finally did, he laughed, and that laugh would change everything. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe, like, and leave a comment if this story touches your heart. This is Kindness Action, where real stories remind us that kindness can change everything. The boy's name was Ethan. He was 11 years old and lived with his sick grandmother in a tiny apartment on the edge of town. They didn't have much. Some nights they shared a single can of soup. Some nights they went to bed hungry. But Ethan had something many people with money had forgotten, a strong sense of right and wrong. 2 days earlier, Ethan had found the envelope on the sidewalk outside a glossy office building downtown. It was thick and sealed. No name. No address. Just heavy in his hands. Curious kids might have opened it. Desperate kids might have kept it. But Ethan remembered his grandma's words, "If it's not yours, don't touch it." "Your honesty is worth more than gold." Inside the building lobby, he quietly asked the security desk if anyone had lost an envelope. The guard barely glanced at him and waved him away. But Ethan noticed the company name printed on the envelope's corner. It belonged to the largest real estate company in the city, owned by a well-known millionaire named Victor Lang. So Ethan walked 3 miles the next morning to reach the office again. Now, in Victor Lang's personal office, 2 suited men sat smiling behind a wide wooden desk. One was Victor. The other was his assistant. They had been in the middle of a business discussion when the boy walked in, guided by a bored receptionist. Victor squinted at the boy and chuckled. "You came all the way here for that," he said, shaking his head. "Kid, do you even know what's in that envelope?" Ethan swallowed. "No, sir. I didn't open it." Victor burst into laughter. "You could have been rich by now," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Do you know how many people would have stolen it?" The assistant laughed too. Ethan's face burned with embarrassment, but he held out the envelope with both hands. "It doesn't belong to me," he said quietly. "So I brought it back." Victor snatched the envelope, still smiling. He tore it open and froze. Inside were documents for a major property deal and a cashier's check for $2 million. The room went silent before Victor could speak. The doors behind them opened. An older man in a gray sweater and glasses stepped inside, leaning lightly on a cane. He had been in the building for a quiet inspection. He was the true owner of the company, Victor's former mentor who still held controlling shares. He had seen everything from the glass hallway. The old man's eyes shifted from the envelope to Victor, then to the boy. "You laughed at him?" the old man asked calmly. Victor's confidence faded. "I was just joking," he said. The old man walked closer to Ethan and knelt down in front of him. "You walked all this way just to return something that wasn't yours?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Ethan said. "Why?" Ethan hesitated. "My grandma says doing the right thing is how you stay rich in the inside." The old man closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they shimmered. Victor tried to laugh it off. "It's a sweet story," he said. "But a smart kid would have kept the money. That," the old man replied firmly, "is exactly the problem with this world." He turned to the assistant. "Cancel all my meetings today." Then he turned to Ethan. "Do you have time to eat lunch with me?" Ethan nodded, confused. They ate sandwiches in the company cafeteria. The old man listened as Ethan spoke about his grandmother, about skipped meals, about school, about dreams of becoming a teacher someday. He listened without interrupting. After lunch, the old man took Ethan back to the office. Victor stood stiffly by the desk, nervous now. The old man pulled out a checkbook and slowly wrote. Then he handed the check to Ethan. Ethan stared at the number. "Sir, this is too much." "It's not a reward," the old man said gently. "It's an investment in someone who chooses honesty when no one is watching." Tears rolled down Ethan's face. "Thank you," he whispered. The next day, Ethan's grandmother received full medical care. Rent was paid for the year. School supplies arrived. And a scholarship fund was quietly set aside in Ethan's name. As for Victor, the laughter stopped following him. The old man reduced his authority in the company and made him attend ethics training with every new hire. Months later, Ethan returned to the building, not with fear, but with pride. The staff greeted him warmly. The receptionist smiled. Even Victor lowered his eyes when Ethan passed. Years would pass. Ethan would grow. He would graduate. And one day, he would return again, not as a poor boy with an envelope, but as a teacher bringing his students on a field trip. And every time, the old man's words would stay with him. Rich on the inside. Because kindness doesn't always come with a price tag. But it always comes with power. And sometimes, the smallest hands carry the greatest lessons. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you that one honest act can change a life, and sometimes, an entire future. Be kind when no one is watching. Because you never know who's truly watching and what your kindness might become.